Well, it happens to everyone. I made some mistakes in a previous RPG 101 set of videos. So here we are, we're going to go through the errata, clear it up, maybe add a few things if it would help make it clear, and hopefully keep myself with a good name. In the video I said that I was going to be starting and talking about Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder. Now what I had meant was I was starting the series for Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder, and as I drew those to a close, I would move on to the next game system, Shadowrun, and then when I closed out the Shadowrun series, I would be doing the Worlds of Darkness series. Now, some people misinterpreted that, which is my fault. I misspoke in the video. So, yes, I will be doing more systems. I will be doing Shadowrun. I will be doing Worlds of Darkness Mage, Worlds of Darkness Vampire, Worlds of Darkness Werewolf and Hunter, and all of those wonderful games that White Wolf Publishing has put out. And I will be doing Big Eye, Small Mouth. I will be looking into GURPS. You know, there are so many games out there that this RPG series is not limited to just one type of gaming system. So rest assured, all of those games that you love will eventually make it into this TV channel. As far as ability scores go, I said that you rolled them using 3d6. Yes and no. Technically what you do is you roll 4d6 and drop the lowest value. And that is the standard way that a lot of people do it. However, there are many other ways. The standard way for 4th edition D&D is actually a chart in the book that is the standard values chart. It has a list of 6 scores. In various changes, you just select the line that you want, assign those numbers to your ability scores how you wish, and you go from there. Another way is to do point buy, where all of your starting values start at 10 for each ability score, and then you have a number of points with which you purchase additional numbers in each value. For example, if you all start with 10 for all scores, but you want to have a 12 for your intelligence, you would spend 2 points to get the 12. Now, it does increase in amount per purchase. So 13, instead of costing 3 points, is actually going to cost you 4 points. 1 point each for 11 and 12, and then 2 points for the 13. And so on and so forth. There are several different ways to do the generation scores with this. You can have 15, 20, and 25. Some DMs will allow more points, some DMs will allow fewer points, but all in all, point buy gives you a much more random set. In point buy, you can also sell points from one of your number 10s to gain additional points to put into another score. This is called dump stats. For example, if you're a wizard, you don't really need a big strength, you can sell 2 or 3 points out of your strength, taking it down to an 8 or a 7, and you would gain those same points to be spent in another ability score later. As far as for where I got the ability score modifiers, there's a chart in each player's handbook near the front and just before races and classes that has a list of the ability scores, what their modifiers are, and if you get any bonus spells tied to that effect. Now, this is a really handy chart to hang on to. I have a couple of little sticky tabs showing me where it is in my book, so if I have to flip to it real quick when I'm building a character, it's easy to find. These charts make it all simple. It goes up in sets of 2, so 10 and 11 is plus 0, 12 and 13 is plus 1, so on and so forth. It shows relevant spell bonuses, because wizards, sorcerers, clerics, druids, anyone who casts spells If your score is high enough in your relevant ability, like intelligence for wizards, charisma for sorcerers, you will actually gain bonus spells of certain levels. Now, whether or not you can cast those spells depends completely on your class level. For example, if you have a high enough intelligence that you can get third level bonus spells, but you're a first level wizard, you're not really going to be able to cast those spells. I mentioned skills and the ability scores in relevance to what your ability scores will modify as far as what you can do in your skills, and then never really brought them back up again. There is reason for that. Skills are a really important part of character building, so much so that I'm actually going to put them in their own video along with feats. Mostly because it's different for each system. Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 had a lot of skills, some of which that were difficult to understand. 4th edition condensed them down into condensed multiple relevant skills into each other's. Pathfinder did the same, but not to the degree that 4th edition did. So just to go over what skills are briefly in this video, skills are more than just trade skills. Trade skills are in there under the profession and crafting skills, but you also have skills like perception, how observant you are, how keen your listening is, things of that nature. You have skills like dungeoneering, how much you know about how dungeons are constructed. You have knowledge skills like nobility, religion. You are well versed in the custom of nobility in certain regions. You are well versed in various religions, whether you practice that religion or not. These are the type of skills that a lot of classes get as class skills, which means they get bonuses to them. But they're really available to all classes, whether you have it as a class skill or not. It's just you don't get the bonus if it's not a class skill. In the classes video, I didn't really get into it too much. I grouped them into the 3 main roles that they have as according to 4th edition because it made sense. That was frontline, backline, and strikers. Now, there are more class. It's not just a 3-class system. There are multiple classes, and they can fit into each of these values. For example, frontline fighters would be things like barbarians, fighters, clerics of a battle god, to a degree rangers, and monks. Druids can be a frontline fighter if they're using wild shape. Backline fighters are classes that aren't quite as hardy or heavily armored, like spellcasters, wizards, sorcerers, witches, clerics that aren't of a battle god. They may not have the same combat prowess. Druids that have animal companions and not a lot of battle, they're not very high level yet, may want to be in the back of the line. And strikers is really a term that was a little bit ambiguous. A striker is any class that has the primary purpose of dealing damage. Strikers are DPS. Strikers are rogues, they're wizards, they're sorcerers, any spellcaster that has battle spells, damage dealing spells, things of that nature. Strikers are also characters that can attack from a distance, like rangers using their bows, fighters using a bow, anything of that nature. Striker is a very fluid, ambiguous role. It's, like I said a few seconds ago, it's DPS. There are other types of roles. There are support roles that are basically buffs and debuffs. Those come from clerics, bards, druids, and rangers. Some wizard spells count as buffs, like Owl's Wisdom, Eagle's Splendor. Things of that nature can be a support role. just wanted to touch on races real quick. I said in the video that most fantasy settings are composed of a large number of races. Now, there are some fantasy settings that are human only, and there are historical settings that will be human only. Legend of the Five Rings is one such setting. It's set in feudal Japan. You play samurai. There are other settings like D20 Modern where you're in the modern age. Now, there are alternate rules for creatures of the fairy world like elves, sprites, pixies, things of that nature. But for the primary purpose of D20 Modern, you're going to be playing a human. And there are a lot of settings out there that have only humans or alternate human type races. You know, you might have regular humans and then you have psychics and things like that. But for the most part, as far as fantasy RPGs go, like Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Shadowrun, and especially Worlds of Darkness, you're going to have a wide variety of races to pick from, each with their own positive things, negative things, limitations, weaknesses, strengths. So it's not really just limited to those races. And some DMs, if you bring them a race out of the monster manual or an expansion source book and make a good case for using this race, most of the time they'll let you do it.